Every morning the city moved in a rush. Cars honked, pigeons scattered, and people hurried past one another without a second glance. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also, tell us in the comments where in the world are you watching from. But Daniel Fletcher was not like most people. At 36, he carried the quiet weight of a man who had learned, the hard way, that small acts matter. He was a single father raising his 8-year-old daughter, Maya, on a stock clerk's salary at a local pharmacy. His mornings began before sunrise, packing Maya's lunch, braiding her hair, dropping her at school, and then walking the 6 blocks to work. It was on one of those walks 3 months ago that he first saw her. She sat in a manual wheelchair at the edge of the crosswalk on Linden Street, her hands resting in her lap, her eyes fixed somewhere distant. The light turned green and everyone crossed except her. Daniel stopped. He walked back, positioned himself beside her chair and said gently, "May I?" She gave a small nod and he pushed her across. She didn't speak. She simply nodded her thanks with tired eyes that held a world of something he couldn't name. The next morning she was there again. And the morning after that. For 3 months Daniel helped her cross that street. He never asked her name. She never offered it. It became a quiet ritual, 2 strangers sharing. A brief moment before the city swallowed them up again. Then, one Tuesday in October, everything changed. Daniel reached down to release the wheelchair brake as usual, and her hand shot out and gripped his wrist. Her fingers were cold, strong, and trembling all at once. She turned her face up to his, and in a voice barely above a whisper, she said the words that would undo his world. "You don't remember me, do you?" Daniel froze. He studied her face, her sharp cheekbones, the silver threading through her dark hair, the deep-set eyes that now burned with something ancient and unresolved. He shook his head slowly, his heart beginning to pound without knowing why. She released his wrist and looked back at the road. "My name is Grace Hollis," she said. 8 years ago, I was hit by a car on Route 9. You were a witness." The world tilted. Daniel's mouth went dry. He remembered Route 9. He remembered the rain, the sound of impact, the police officer who handed him a card. He remembered the man in the expensive coat who came to his apartment 2 days later, slid an envelope across the table, and told him that all he had to do was say he hadn't seen the car clearly. He had taken the money. He had told himself it was a gray area, that his statement wouldn't change anything, that he needed the cash for rent and Maya's winter coat. He had buried it so deep he had almost convinced himself it wasn't real. Grace Hollis had been a ballet dancer. Not just any dancer. She had been weeks away from joining a national company when the car struck her at the crossing. The driver's insurance team had used the muddled witness statements, including Daniel's altered one, to reduce the settlement and deny full liability. Grace had lost her career, her savings, and eventually her home. The accident had shattered her pelvis and left her dependent on a wheelchair for the rest of her life. She had spent 8 years in pain, fighting bureaucracy, living in a small subsidized apartment, 4 blocks from the crossing where her life had changed forever. She came back to that corner every morning. She had never stopped coming back. Daniel didn't speak for a long time. When he finally did, his voice cracked. He did not make excuses. He did not explain about the rent or Maya's coat or the man in the expensive coat. He simply said, "I lied, and I am so sorry." What followed was one of the hardest seasons of Daniel's life. He went to a lawyer and gave a full corrected statement. He lost the goodwill of people who thought he was stirring up old trouble. He sat Maya down and told her, in age-appropriate words, that her father had once made a terrible mistake and was trying to fix it. Maya cried. Then she hugged him and said, "I'm glad you're fixing it, Daddy." Grace did not forgive him instantly. Real life doesn't work that way, but she accepted his testimony, and with new legal support, her case was reopened. It wasn't a perfect ending. The money could not restore her body or return her years, but truth spoken late still carries weight. Daniel still walks Linden Street every morning. Sometimes Grace is at the corner. Sometimes she isn't. But when she is, he stops, and they cross together. If this story moved you, please support our channel, like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it today, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories for more real stories of courage, accountability, and the quiet power of doing what is right, even when it costs everything.